Hi guys, you're gonna have to forgive me for my appearance in this video. I had a long night last night, with ultimately no notice. CPS decided to contact the Baltimore County Police Department, and, ultimately they had a writ to take my daughter. A writ is not a warrant. A writ is not signed by a judge. It is not brought through the court systems. A writ is ultimately a piece of paper of CPS telling the police officers, you're going to come and help us take this child. Now, the reason why CPS is involved is because I had a home birth. I gave birth right on this bed. And afterwards, he went to the hospital to make sure that I was medically sound and that Iris is medically sound. And everything was fine. While at the hospital, we were told that CPS needs to come and check the house to make sure it's in good enough condition for Iris. Okay, that's fine. We have everything we need for her in spades. We're importing diapers from Europe to get chemical-free diapers and chemical-free wipes. Okay. So I was told that everything was in order, and the case will probably be dropped by the end of the month. So I'm seeing a pediatrician weekly for her. In the first week, sorry, dogs. In the first week, she gained her birth weight back faster than she's supposed to. The doctor asked me if I had any problems or concerns. The only thing I said was that I had some soreness from breastfeeding so much. And the doctor's response was, okay, we'll feed her less. No, I'm okay. I can handle the soreness. I'm handling it. You asked me if anything was wrong. I'm just telling you a little sore. Well, you should be feeding her. How often are you feeding her? I'm feeding her when she wants to eat. If she shows hunger cues, I feed her. She stays on until she unlatches. Okay, well, I only want you feeding her every 2 to 3 hours for 20 minutes on one breast and 10 minutes on the other. But she wants to be fed more than that. No, it's fine. It should be fine. You should only be able to feed her every 2 to 3 hours. Don't worry about it. Well, like an idiot, I took his advice. Iris stopped gaining weight as quickly. She's since plateaued. After a couple more visits with that doctor and him getting on my case, she's not gaining weight. Why isn't she gaining weight? She should be gaining weight. Can I go back to feeding her the schedule I was feeding her before? No. Stick to what you're doing. But we have to figure out a way to make her gain weight. Great. So I decided to drop that doctor and find somebody else. Well, the doctor was unhappy that I dropped him and decided to call CPS, who then proceeded to not close my case because they're worried about her weight. Well, I explained to CPS what the doctor had told me, the fact that I had told the doctor that I had found a different doctor and that I wasn't going to be seeing him anymore. Didn't give a flying fuck. Didn't care. The person who was handling my case didn't tell her supervisor, didn't tell anybody. Only until I found out that they were keeping my case open and I went to speak to her supervisor that I found out the supervisor had no idea what was going on. Well, on Monday, I went to see another pediatrician, a different pediatrician, who expressed concern that Iris's weight was low, but wants us to come back in a week to keep an eye on it. Okay, that's fine. She didn't seem terribly concerned. She said, yeah, I'm concerned, but I want her coming back next week, and we'll keep an eye on her. Okay, that's fair. Later on, she calls me and leaves a message saying, have you tried food supplementation, supplementing with formula? I had explained to the doctor previously that yes, I had. I have, I've given Iris bottles when we first had this weight issue, and we were concerned that she wasn't getting enough. So we started giving her bottles, and she wouldn't drink the bottles. At first, my husband was concerned that, okay, well, maybe she's not going to take the formula. Maybe she's not taking the bottle. Oh my God, I'd be concerned. She's fine. She's full. She's fine. A few days later, I'm dehydrated from dealing with more doctor drama, being in hysterics, crying. And I knew that she wasn't getting the food that she needed. So I said to him, honey, give her a bottle. She could probably use a bottle right now. Lo and behold, she drinks the bottle. Well, great. So we know that we don't need to supplement. We know that she's getting what she needs. So the doctor proceeds to call back then, again, a few hours later, saying, yeah, I don't think she's going to make it until Monday. You should bring her to the ER on Thursday. Mind you, this was on Monday. I had an appointment for the next Monday. It was such an emergency that she had to call, that she couldn't express concern in the appointment, couldn't express concern the first time she called, and only expressed concern the third time I spoke to her. Now, on top of all of this, the doctor called to confirm her appointment on Friday, yesterday. I said to them, I'm not going with you. I didn't like how our interview went. I'm going to be going with a different pediatrician. Well, she called CPS. At 6 o'clock at night, CPS shows up at my front door with a bunch of cops to take my daughter. Ultimately, what that writ said was that if we didn't comply with the writ, they had the legal ability to kick down our door, arrest us, and take Iris. Now, when CPS initially contacted me to tell me that they were keeping the case open, they sent me 2 papers to go along with this. 3, but 2 papers that were important for this. One was a growth milestone, a physical growth milestone, and the other one was a behavioral developmental growth milestone. Now, Iris has met every single milestone that is expected of a child her age, except for her weight. The one thing she has not met out of almost a dozen pieces of criteria that CPS themselves sent me for what they are expected to meet. Now, while CPS is here, I even said to them, it is not in Iris's best interest to go with you. You know it's not in Iris's best interest to go with you. And they agreed with me. They agreed with me that it's not in Iris's best interest. Now, when this whole case with CPS opened, I told them up front about my history. I told them up front about what had happened to me. I told them about being raped as a child. I told them about being trafficked. I told them a little bit, not too much, but a little bit of what I went through. Then they show up on my front doorstep with a bunch of cops to take my daughter. I know what happens when CPS takes children. They showed up at my front door at 6 o'clock at night on a Friday night to take my daughter. In other words, they showed up my front door in a way at a time specifically done so that way I couldn't do anything for the entire weekend to get her back. Now, on top of this, the cops that were there, almost every single one saw what bullshit this is. Almost every single one saw that I was not willing to give up Iris and that I was not being neglectful. They were trying to argue that I was being a neglectful mother. Because I don't trust pediatricians because of what I went through. Which they know. But instead, they decided to bring cops here and make it turn into a whole giant shit show to try and trigger me, to try and trigger a PTSD attack. Now, I live streamed the entire thing on Facebook. However, I also discovered last night, I have 2 videos, now 3, on this channel. Well, 3 videos, either way. Apparently my live streaming abilities have already been cut. So, the cops didn't want to take Iris. The only people who were headstrong, stubborn, unwilling to compromise was CPS. Oh no, we're only worried about the safety of the child. Then why are you going to take a 3-month-old daughter away from her mother, a 3-month-old solely breastfed daughter away from her mother, on a Friday night when nothing else can be wrong, when nothing can be done to stop it? I'm being targeted. My daughter's being targeted. My family's being targeted by the same people who raped, abused me, experimented on me, and put me through the hell that I've been reporting on this channel. If anybody can help, please help. If you know a lawyer or somebody who can help, please help. I don't want her going through the same things I did. Nobody deserves to go through that. And what makes me the most angry is knowing how many parents they've done this to, and how my case is not unique. How often CPS will take children for... I'm not saying her weight being low isn't a concern and isn't a health issue and isn't something that should be addressed. I agree, it should be. But it's not going to be addressed by feed her less. It's going to be addressed by working with us and trying to figure out what's actually wrong, rather than threats, not listening, and feed her less. If anybody's willing to help, anybody knows a lawyer, something, please contact me. I can't let them hurt my daughter. I can't let them get Iris. Please help.